In the tapestry of spiritual legends, there are names that are whispers, and names that are commands. The name Maria Padilha is a roar. She is not just a story, a legend, but a living force. A powerful spirit entity, revered in the heart of Afro-Brazilian religion. To understand her is to understand the untamable nature of passion, magic, justice, and the profound power of the feminine archetype. Her legend is not a single thread, but a rich braid woven from history, sorcery, tragedy, and spiritual power. She is the most famous of the Pombagira spirits, the female counterparts to Exu, who rule Crossroads magic, human desires, and the chaos of life. But where did this legend begin? The story starts not in Brazil, but in the fire and intrigue of 14th century Spain. Here lived a real woman, a noble, Dona María de Padilla. She was a Castilian noblewoman whose beauty, intelligence, and charm captured the heart of King Peter I of Castile, a man known as Pedro the Cruel. Their love was a scandal. King Peter, a monarch, was forced into a political marriage with a French noblewoman, Blanche of Bourbon. Yet, his passion for Maria Padilha was so all-consuming that he famously abandoned his new queen just 3 days after the wedding, to return to Maria's arms. This act was unthinkable. The court, the church, and his enemies were baffled. They could find only one explanation for the king's obsession: witchcraft. It was whispered in the shadows that Maria Padilha was a sorceress. They claimed she used love spells, forbidden potions, and black magic to bind the king to her will. This accusation, this rumor of sorcery, born of jealousy and political fear, would become the mystical seed of her future power. Maria Padilha was the king's true queen in all but name. She was his confidant, his advisor, and the mother of his children. But her life was short. She died young, a tragedy, likely from the plague. The king's grief was bottomless. A year after her death, he declared to the entire court that Maria Padilha, and not Blanche, had been his first and only true, secret wife. He forced the court and the church to recognize her, post-mortem, as the rightful queen of Castile. This story, this dramatic legend, of the queen accused of magic who ruled a king's heart even from beyond the grave, traveled with Portuguese and Spanish colonists to Brazil. In Brazil, this legend collided and merged with the powerful beliefs of enslaved Africans, the Yoruba, and Bantu peoples. This syncretism gave birth to a new spiritual force. The concept of Exu, the Orixa of the Crossroads, had a female counterpart, Pombagira. And the spirit of Maria Padilha became her most powerful avatar. She was no longer just a historical woman. She became the archetype for female empowerment. The patron spirit of those who have suffered for love, of breaking curses, and of those who refuse to be victims. The Pombagira Maria Padilha is the woman who takes the pain of betrayal and forges it into a crown of power. As a Pombagira queen, Maria Padilha is a multifaceted entity. She is not one, but a legion, a phalange, with many paths. The most famous is Maria Padilha das Almas, or Maria Padilha of the Souls. This is her most serious and mystical facet. The Das Almas specialization means she is the queen who rules the cemetery, known as the Calunga. She is the protector of the gates between life and death. She is the comforter of spirits who died tragically, especially from love, and she holds the deep wisdom of the ancestors. When Maria Padilha manifests, her presence is unmistakable. She is the scent of roses and expensive perfume. She is the taste of champagne and the smoke of fine cigars. She wears red and black, the colors of passion and mystery. Her power is vast. She commands love. She is sought for love spells, but more importantly, for restoring self-love. She breaks curses. Her famous gargalhada, or laughter, is not humor. It is a shockwave of power that shatters negative energy and black magic. She is the Justicar. Maria Padilha is not good or evil. She is just. She brings balance, often with a swift and severe hand. And above all, she is empowerment. Maria Padilha is the symbol of the powerful woman, the free woman, who owns her desires, her intelligence, and her destiny. From a slandered noblewoman to a revered spiritual guide, the legend of Maria Padilha is a timeless story of resilience. She is the proof that a woman's power, her magic, cannot be burned, buried, or forgotten.